Hey guys, how's it going? Just Shauna here in a random spot. I have my tripod like propped up on one of my boxes and trying to get this lighting from outdoors, so hopefully this works. It's very blah in the background, but what are you gonna do? So this wrap up is pretty small. There's only 4 books that I'm gonna be talking about today. As you know, I don't do like my monthly wrap-ups anymore. Just every like 4 to 6 books or so, I do a recent reads wrap-up. A recent wrap-up. Whatever. What do I call these? I don't freaking know. So the first book I'm going to talk about is The Iron King by Julie Kagawa, and it was a library book. Took it back. Don't have it. This one, it was like okay. On my 1 to 10 scale, it got a 4.83. which translates to 3 pushinicorns, kind of on the lower end of the 3 rating because it goes up to like 6.5 or something. At any rate, I didn't like hate it. Obviously, 3's kind of middle of the road. It was just kind of the plot is what did it for me. It felt like it was like every few chapters or so, the adventure like changed to something else. Like, ooh, new mission. Oh, another new mission. Oh, now we gotta go here. Oh, hi ma'am. Probably not. Yeah, it just felt very kind of all over the place, I guess. The plot did. I didn't really get connected with any of the characters too much. The little romance felt really watered down. Like I didn't buy it really. I don't believe I'm gonna continue with the series. There's just too many other books to read and too many other series to complete. The next one is the first book that I completed for the Library-A-Thon, which ended, I'm filming this on Sunday, it ended yesterday on the 9th, and it is a high-end finish by Kate Carlisle. This was my book that's outside of my comfort zone. It is a cozy mystery. Literally never read cozy mysteries. So on my 1 to 10 scale, this got a 6.16, which translates to 3 pushinicorns. Yet again, this was on the higher end, mostly for enjoyment. Like this was a quick read and it was pretty fluffy and fun and lighthearted as cozy mysteries tend to be, even though there's like murder involved. The writing style was, you know, perfectly fine. It moved along pretty quickly. It wasn't anything like earth-shattering, of course, but it was fun, right? But I kind of rated it down a little bit. Simply because there was like a lot of girl hate. Like our main character here, oh yeah, I haven't said what these are about. This is a cozy mystery. It's the first in a series where our main character is a, she owns a construction company that her father had owned and she took over. So she's like a carpenter as well. And she runs this business and she stumbles upon a body at some point and the mystery ensues. And it's like this little tiny town. It's very quaint and cute. And it's just figuring out who done it. And our main character is very much like the tomboy plain Jane is what she's like depicted as. And there's like the mean girls, popular girls that she had gone to high school with. She's like in her late 20s or early 30s or something at this point. And she like hates them. They hate her. Which is fine, whatever. If they're mean, they're mean. But they were just like caricatures of like mean girls, and our main character was like pretty judgmental of them. Like there's one scene where they're going to the like little pub in town and these, you know, popular mean girls are wearing like stilettos and like cute little outfits. And our main character is hella judgy about it. Like, oh God, look at what they're wearing. Like you're in a pub, stop. And I was kind of like, if they want to wear heels, let them wear heels. You live in this little podunk town. There's probably not a lot of places for them to like dress up. And if they feel like dressing up when they go to the pub, let them. Like if you don't like them because they're mean, don't like them because they're mean. But like you just hate. And then she like showed up at the girl's house or the woman's house and she was wearing like heels around her house, which I personally would not do myself. But again, like if this chick wants to do that, let her, who cares, I guess. And she just was like, oh, look at me in my jeans and work boots and you and your stilettos, God, eye roll. And that just kind of irritated me. And then later in the book, we hear a story about, I think it's the main character's sister or a girl she went to school with, who this girl was bullied because her best friend died of cancer and all the popular mean rich kids made fun of her because she was so sad about it. And I was just like, okay, but would that ever really happen? Like, literally, you're sad because your best friend died of cancer and the popular kids make fun of you for it. And it just, I didn't buy it. And they were just like caricatures. Oh, hello. The popular kids were. So the mystery part of it I liked. I thought that was fun and everything. So yeah, it was fine. Next, I listened to Autobiography on Overdrive. This was also for the Library-A-Thon. This was my book that had book in the title or on the cover or something, like a bookish book. And it fits something else too. One I've been wanting to read for a while. That was one of the challenges, right? God, I'm one of the co-hosts and I forgot the challenges. And Autobiography, you've probably heard of it. It's by Christina Lauren, which is a duo authorship, to women who wrote it. And it's about a boy who... Lily, stop. It's a boy who has come out as bisexual, but then his family... And he lives in California, but then his family moves for his mother's job. And they move to Provo, Utah. Very heavy with the Mormon church, LDS, Church of Latter-day Saints. And so he kind of like goes back in the closet at that point. And his mother was in the church when she was younger, but she has since, left LDS church. His mother is very concerned about him being out in this community. But then he falls for a boy in his school environment. He's in the church, he's a member of the church, and he ends up being gay. And so it just goes from there. And I'm not Mormon. I really don't know that many people who are Mormon. I know a few who are no longer but grew up Mormon. But I've heard from other reviews and things, and I felt like, not being Mormon, I felt like that was handled really well. Obviously, the Mormon church, most churches, most organized religions tend to have issue with LGBTQ plus people and those issues and those topics. They're not on the same page, right? Whatever church it might be, most of the time. Certainly Mormon. And I thought it was handled very respectfully on both ends of the spectrum. And I think it showed pretty well the struggle of someone who is in the church and is feeling this way and thinking they might be gay or bi or what have you. Kind of reconciling that with their faith, right? Reconciling knowing that this is who they are, but also their faith being very important to them. I thought that was done pretty well. This is YA contemporary. It's teenagers falling in love. And for me, I was describing it to somebody that it's kind of funny for me because when I was in high school, I 100% was the girl who, would fall in love, right, with my little boyfriends that I had and just be all consuming, head over heels, we're probably gonna get married someday. Oh, life. When you're young, that's just how you feel. So it was a very genuine and realistic depiction of that. This kid fell so obsessively in love with this guy. And while it was annoying for me now as an adult, because I'm just okay, calm down. But I know it was realistic, right? It just kind of the writing style, it was good. There was nothing wrong with it, but just it didn't. It's so funny because Jandy Nelson's writing is very flowery and very descriptive and using metaphors that just are they don't really, they make sense, but some people think it's too much. Okay, why are you describing that like that? I love Jandy Nelson's writing, but the writing in this was kind of like that, but I think it bothered me because it was Jandy Nelson's writing is very flowery with everything, right? Describing mundane things, describing love, describing relationships, describing nature, everything, right? But in this book, it was only very flowery and kind of over the top and descriptive when our main character Tanner was talking about either how hot his love interest was or how he felt about his love interest. The chair seemed to fall out from under me when he looked my way, or his eyes pierced through my soul. Just very over the top. And it was every single chapter, it was just that was dumped in there, and I think for a lot of people that probably works and they like it, but it kind of was like, all right, dude, we get it. You're obsessed with him. Highly recommend. Like I said, my enjoyment level of, my enjoyment level of this was pretty good for a contemporary. YA contemporary tends not to be my jam, but I wasn't like hating this. I didn't feel like I was trudging through it. And then I literally just finished this like 20 minutes ago. My third and final book for the Library-A-Thon was The Imposter by Damon Galgut. This is centered in South Africa. This counted as my book I've never heard of before, which this also could have counted as that because I've never heard of this before either. And my book set in a country I've never read a book set in before, because as far as I can remember, I've never read one set in South Africa. And my librarian pick, because it was on the staff selections shelf or whatever. And this is a book about a guy in South Africa. It's post-apartheid. He's white and he wants to go off and write poetry. His brother owns a house in the country. He goes to live in this house and write poetry. Oh, and then there's a neighbor who ends up being like, hey, I remember you from high school. And our main character, Adam, is kind of like, what? I don't remember you. But he goes along with it, and this man has a wife. The neighbor / childhood friend is also white, and the wife is black, and Adam, our main character, ends up falling for her and being very mesmerized by her. On my 1 to 10, I gave it a 4.3, which translates to 2 Pashina corns. This felt it's noir, post-apartheid noir, whatever. It felt very Great Gatsby, very Jazz Age, F. Scott Fitzgerald, where it's kind of this detachment. Your main character, all the characters just seem very detached from life. They're just kind of sitting around being morose and serious and sipping on drinks and staring off into the distance. And it seems like that's all they do. It was just weird. Every character felt like that. And then though, except for the childhood friend, he has come into some money. He's very wealthy. So we have our main character, Adam, who's writing. He's sitting here writing. He's impoverished, and which is Nick Calloway from The Great Gatsby. And then it's kind of different because in The Great Gatsby, it's Jay Gatsby who is in love with someone else's wife, right? He's in love with Daisy from his childhood or from his younger years. So it's a little bit different, but Canning, the childhood friend of his, has come into some money. He's this very wealthy, and he's very boisterous, and he's a character. He kind of was the Gatsby for me in this book. But then the chick, her name is Baby, the wife, and she was very much the Daisy and very kind of lackadaisical, and she very much just wants to be with the man that's going to give her security and a stable, wealthy life. It just literally nothing happened in this book. Nothing happened on the page. There are things that happened out off the page that you heard about later, which would have been action and something, but it didn't happen on the page. It was just oh yeah, that happened. I just don't love, and I don't know why I like Great Gatsby then, because I feel it was very much like Great Gatsby, but stuff happens in Great Gatsby. You know what I mean? There's action that happens. And in this, there just wasn't any, so adding to that, detachment, it just was, no. So yeah, those are the 4 books. Hey guys, so I realized that I have a kitty. No, that I forgot to kind of actually talk about the Library-A-Thon in my, kind of recent reads, which really was a Library-A-Thon Wrap Up, because I only read 1 additional book that I talked about in that video. But yeah, my co-hosts will all be linked down below. We did a little live stream, which Kelly was not present for because totally different time zone, and she was dead asleep. And then that's on Sajid's channel, though. So all of that stuff will be linked down below. And I did end up completing most of the challenges, other than the challenges. I can't remember, because I only had 3 books. And pretty much all of them could fit for a couple. And I can't remember which ones I designated for which thing, but the imposter is the only one that I did not totally finish. There was 50 pages left or something when we did the live stream. That one was my book set in a country I've never read a book set in, and my librarian like pick. So those 2 challenges I did not get completed, but whatever. I seriously look like garbage. This lighting is not great, but whatever. Okay, that's all. Bye. Thanks for your time, guys, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.